Today is the 19th day of February 2025, and we are going to discuss the stories that make the airwaves on the News Review segment. Kojo and I are here to steer the conversations, and let me usher in our guest, and then we get started. Dr. Ofori-Atta is head Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, and later on we have Dr. Jibril Mohammed. He's also a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. They'll be joining us to review the newspapers. First, we have Dr. Ofori-Atta. Doc, good morning to you.
Good morning, Ziti, and good morning to Kojo and our viewers as well.
Great. It's good to have you. Doc, let's get straight into your trail of thoughts for us this morning.
This morning, I want to look at something which is so dear to my heart, because as a son of a farmer, I'm always alive to the changing realities of our society, that I believe the way forward is agriculture. If you look at how far this country has come, we have survived based on agriculture. It's a recent time that other things that we are endowed with are also adding up to make our lives better, i.e. minerals and the rest of them. But my focus today is on agriculture. That if this country will ever improve its fortunes, I believe that the first port of call is agriculture. Let us intensify the work of agriculture, spread it throughout the country, make sure that where we have arable lands, we turn them around and provide food, employment, and then that will be used to supply the industry, so that at the end of the day, one district, one dam will have meaning, one district, one whatever money that is given to them will become a reality. And at the end of the day, our people will get job and make livelihoods. If you look at the fact that we abandon agriculture, that is the basis of our problems. Yes, so I'll urge this new government that to start with, let us see what should be done at Pualugu Dam. That is the first thing that the government has to do. Make sure that they bring the dam to fruition and then use it for the agriculture purposes which they plan for. And of course, it dovetails into the problem that we have anytime we spill water from Akosombo. So I will concentrate on, build a Pualugu, irrigate the areas in the north, create more agriculture fields, put people who are unemployed on there. You can even send a lot of national service people there, and let us start the agri revolution. That we can begin to have food for ourselves. We can stop importing food from desert areas such as Burkina Faso, and then we can add value to them and then sell them around and outside this jurisdiction. And at the end of the day, we'll make a living. Let's begin the agricultural revolution now.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, I'm happy to hear anytime someone talks about improving agri, because like I always say, data doesn't lie. Agri has the potential to create the billionaires we're looking for, to reduce unemployment, greatly. But sometimes you don't know how managers of this economy always play lip service with agri sector. Everybody comes in, says big things. They try to do one or two things, but the critical things that must be done are not being done. But I hope that now that all of us are getting that awakening, it will change how managers of the economy, do look at agri. Because if you're fighting something that is of a national security issue, which is unemployment, and there's a sector that can easily do it for you, then I guess you have to put more investment there and get it done. And that's agriculture. If we are serious with it, green gold, we call it. You can easily, change the face of this economy. Well, I have the Daily Graphic newspaper, I have the Custodian, and I have the News Center. What do you have?
The Ghanaian Times newspaper, the Ghanaian Publisher, and I think, the Accra Times. Okay. Should we start from the Ghanaian Times? Yes. So on the front page, declare assets by March 31st or face sanctions. President gives ultimatum to appointees. We also have on that cholera outbreak, 719 cases confirmed, 49 deaths recorded. And President opens National Education Forum in Ho, apologizes to GCBC and CC, that is the Catholic Bishops and and for delayed invitation. An Interior Minister commends police for high standard of professionalism. Let's get into the stories. Doc, I know that you've already said some things about how we declare assets in our efforts to curb corruption, how you just list things and put it in an envelope and submit it until something really comes up. But this is the president saying now that declare your assets by March 31st or face sanctions. Let me get a bit of the story out and then I'll come to you. President John Dramani Mahama has given his appointees up to the end of March this year to declare their assets or face sanctions. And he said he took assets declaration seriously and expects full compliance from his appointees and those who are enjoined by the 1992 Constitution. I believe that's Article 286 of the 1992 Constitution. Quote, I have asked the Chief of Staff to send word to all my appointees to ensure that they declare the asset by the end of the first quarter of this year or face sanctions. Doc, your thoughts on this?
You know my position on this.
Yeah.
That the law as it exists today is not fit for purpose. And I am happy that the state is doing something to change it. So that we'll have a meaningful asset declaration policy that will stand the test of time. And I support the call by the president that all his appointees, he has given them the deadline to declare their asset. It's in that right direction. But we have to move beyond this, that after declaring asset, we want to prevent conflict of interest and all that. Let us ensure that all those additions will be done and done well. And the end of the day, we'll be able to use this thing to monitor the process and to take our hands off corruption so that we can have a certain space to operate with. Remember, corruption takes a lot of money from our purse, and we need to save this country by making sure that there is openness, there is transparency, and when we get this, we'll be able to fight corruption.
Thank you, Doc. President Mahama opens National Education Forum in Ho. Yesterday, we all followed that and apologizes to the Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference and Christian Council of Ghana for delayed invitation. And before he delved into his address, President Mahama expressed a sincere apology on behalf of the Planning Committee of the National Education Forum to stakeholders of faith-based organizations for the unpardonable omission committed by way of delaying their invitation to the forum. I thought the whole purpose of setting up a committee to spearhead this forum, this conference, was so that omissions like this would not be made. But well, the president has apologized and went on to say that he will take the recommendations or whatever they come out with very seriously and will set timelines for us to do that. Let me add two more stories, Doc, and I'll come to you in a bit. Interior Minister commends police for high standard of professionalism. Man allegedly swindles businessman of 170,000 Ghana cedis. Mechanic fined for 6,000 for stealing. On the international front, Congo Army retreat from Bukavu leads to clashes with allied militia. And when the teacher exhibits professional values and attitudes, this is an editorial. And Ashanti Northeast Regions elect Council of State reps. Finally, we've concluded on that. Amend DACF Act to enable administrator report directly to minister. Halt dismissal of nurses, teachers now. Let me get into this story. So the minority leader in Parliament, Alexander Penyo-Markin, has called on the government to halt any plans to dismiss nurses, stressing that the country needs more healthcare professionals to tackle the ongoing cholera and meningitis outbreak. And he was reacting to a statement from the Minister of Health, Kobna Mintakando, in Parliament on the current state of cholera and meningitis. Quote, this is not the time to sack nurses. Government must ensure no healthcare professional loses their job. Rather, expedited steps should be taken to employ all backlog of healthcare professionals to tackle the outbreak, he stressed. Doc.
Yes, I will start with the national education policy.
Yes.
It is a good call and it's in the right direction. I support that. But I want the committee, which I trust, that they will be able to do the needful by looking at the weaknesses we have currently with the educational system and see what input they can make into that so as to make it robust and stand the test of time. We want education that will really give our people hope, will give our people the opportunity to rub shoulders with those in other parts of the world, and education that is fit for purpose. We want the part of the program to look at the implementation. For instance, you are producing, you are churning out a number of people every year. What is it that they have to do when they finish school? That must also occupy the attention. And above all, we need the teaching materials. We've seen time and again where we put students in class and then they have no textbooks. They'll move to another level before textbook arrive. Those things should be a thing of the past. And I know this committee is handled by able hands. They will right the wrongs. Let's look at...
Doc, let me stay on that for a bit. I mean, I know that the Christian Council and Catholic bishops, they've been contributing to trying to, reforming education. They've actually been involved. But is it really a bad thing that they were omitted from this forum? Like, what was so terribly wrong with that?
I think let's consider it as an omission.
Okay.
And that going forward, that will not happen. Sometimes some of these things are not deliberate, but once a while it crops up. But the good news is that they are in, because you need all the stakeholders. And remember, education started by this religious groups, particularly the Christians who introduced education in this country. So they have a stake. And remember, all the big schools you have, they founded them. The school in my hometown, Presbyterian Training College, established 1848, and the rest of them. And they are passionate when you are, so you cannot but include them at all time. So we need that. And then we need to strengthen vocational aspect of education, so that we give people certain skills that they can help to make a living. It is important. I want to move on to the issue of cholera. Once you talk about cholera, doctors will tell you you have a very filthy environment. And yes, when you keep them clean, you are safe. We recall the promise we had with our previous government that Accra will be the cleanest city in Africa. It became a mirage. Going forward, I'm sure this government will right the wrong and make sure that our environment are kept clean. And I will tax the local government minister. I will urge him on. I will not tax him. I don't have the power. I will urge him to strengthen the inspectorate division so that they can make sure that we get the basics right, so as to save ourselves about these are cholera problems and all that. These are something we can deal with. It shouldn't be a problem with it. And once we keep our environment clean, we are good to go. Issue of nurses, don't sack nurses. I support that call. Whatever it takes for government to maintain them, government should find a way out. But you see, this country, we are short of, or we are bereft of ideas. Why am I saying this? Because, look, when I was a little boy, there were people that were coming to work from other countries in this country, especially Indians, and then I think the Cubans. People export them here, and they come and work, take resources, and they go back. Why can't we do the same? That we should have a proper arrangement so that when people finish school in various fields of academic endeavors, and then you put them into good use by exporting some, maintaining some. At the end of the day, the money we have spent in developing them will recoup and plow back to society and build it. And we have very short ideas in this regard. I tell government, I urge this government that ideas are bound. They should take advantage and make sure that we improve our lots, and then get more nurses into the system. Let them also be able to work. If there is no space here, create opportunity for them to work elsewhere, and that they will come and then build our society. Remember, what is going on in America is now should serve as a warning for all of us. Once it succeeds, I've said it and I'll repeat, Europeans may follow, and the time you realize nobody will be interested in anybody coming there to his or her country to make a living. Let's make our home better. There is no other place than our home. And then I think if there's some, let me also look at I think we've said everything. Yes. High standards, police and high standards. Yes, I support that program, a good one, but I will always urge the police to look at the U.S. State Human Rights Report. It has gory tales of human rights violations apportioned to the police in this country. And I want the state to take measures to deal with this. And I charge the new Interior Minister and charge the IGP that they should also look at that report. I know over the years, they try to improve it, but there's a lot more to be done. If you look at that report, some of the issues that are found in that report keep recurring. It tells us that we are not doing good in that regard. And that report is part of the governance barometer that we use to gauge whatever a government policy is, and that it is part of the indicators of what good governance. So they should check it.
All right, Doc. Just one story on the back page says NPA to deploy automated dispensers to implement 24-hour economy, and that is coming from the Chief Executive of the NPA, Mr. Godwin Kujo Tamaklo. And he said the initial phase might include the deployment of automated dispensers at selected petroleum retail outlets, as well as the implementation of measures to ensure the continuous operation of bulk storage facilities and depots, among other initiatives. And now, lastly, government will complete abandoned housing projects nationwide, says the minister. Well, that's it for the Ghanaian Times newspaper. And before, Doc, I give you a bite on this, let me usher in Dr. Jibril Mohammed. He just joins us also via Zoom. He's a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. Doc, good morning to you. Dr. Mohammed, kindly unmute for us.
Good morning to you, and good morning to all your listeners.
Okay, good.
Thank you. This morning, I have small burning issues in my mind. One of them has to do with the traffic light situation in Ghana, especially the ninth, the street lighting is really very, very, very bad. Almost every part of the country, especially in Accra here, if you are driving in the night, it's really terrible. I mean, everywhere is dark. The Accra Regional Minister promised that she was going to fix it within 30 days of her ushering into office. I entreat her to work on it assiduously so that we can have the place lit up, because it's really dangerous for us when we are driving. Another issue has to do with the DD program. The government has issued close to 20 billion Ghana cedis to pay people that the former government owned in terms of the debt exchange program, and also to set up a sinking fund of about 9.7 billion Ghana cedis. I believe that this is a step in the right direction, and I hope that it's going to continue that way and things can get better for us as a country.
Thank you for those quick thoughts. Let's continue with the papers now, could you? Doc, on the stories from the NPA and then government completing abandoned projects. Do you want to reflect on that, Doc? Dr. Mohammed?
The issue of the NPA, I think, is a step in the right direction, but are we putting in the necessary security measures in place? This is very important, because if you don't have the security architecture in place, then you are asking filling stations, you are asking, the downstream to be able to load in the night. It's going to be really very, very difficult, especially what I just spoke about. If you don't have a proper lighting system in the country, how do you ensure proper security? When people are being attacked, how will you know that these people are being attacked? We have to be in a better position to install all cameras across the length and stretch of this country. And you can only do that when they are light up. You can only do that when you have the security services in place. So we have to work very hard, improve our security system, and get this thing running. So if you're able to do that, I believe that we can start the 24-hour economy in earnest, and that can help to put the country in a better position.
Okay.
No, but I mean, I'm trying to reconcile the automation with the purpose for the 24-hour economy. We said 1 job, 3 shifts. So how do we then, try to make sense of automation when the same thing can be done by 3 human beings running shifts?
Well, people still have to operate that, but it just means that we are going to reduce the number of people who are going to be working. They say 311. It means that one job for 3 people at the same time, as you said. But I believe that even with the automation, you still need to have some people monitoring the system. So you can have, maybe if it's going to be 3 people, you may end up having 1 or 2. Then that can still work. Because if it was just to be one system and you are still automating, it means that you don't need anybody to monitor it. But in this case, you still need someone to monitor, even though it is automated. There will still be someone on duty. If there are problems, the person can come on board to fix the problem.
Okay. All right. I don't know if Dr. Asante would want to have a bite on that particular one. The MPA says they will deploy automated dispensers under the 24-hour economy initiative.
I think strategies are different. You can combine human beings with machines to be able to get the effect that you want, and then expand your frontiers. Yeah, there are places that you may have the high incidence of machines working as against human beings, but it doesn't take away the fact that there are other sectors of the economy where you can also have you can stretch your hand and get all the three shadows run perfectly. A blend of the two in a manner that will not disadvantage people, and the resources that we have should be the way to go.
Okay, now let's do the daily graphic. And it says, at the National Education Forum launch, President outlines areas for reforms. President Mahama declares assets. That's on page 13 of the daily graphic. OSP removes former finance minister from wanted list. Page 20 has that story. Council of State takes office. Doa Jaho is chairman. That's on page 11. Honoring coupons good for investor confidence, according to an economist, page 13. Now, I'm sure we've dealt with the National Education Forum, so let's move on to the OSP and the Council of State, possibly. Now, if you read the OSP story, it talks about the fact that the Special Prosecutor, Kisi Jabeng, has removed the former Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, from its list of wanted persons. The Special Prosecutor explained that the former Finance Minister had, through his lawyers, stated a definite date of his voluntary return to the jurisdiction. As a result, the Office of the Special Prosecutor has acceded to Mr. Ofori-Atta's request. A statement signed by the Special Prosecutor has reviewed. The OSP said it deemed as reasonable in the circumstance Mr. Ofori-Atta's stated date of voluntary return to the jurisdiction. Dr. Asante, I mean, yes, what do you make of this? It was just last week or so that he was declared as wanted. This week we are being told that, well, he's now given a definite date that he'll return, and so he's been wanted, or he's been taken off the wanted list. Many people have reacted differently to this. How do you react to this news of him being removed from the wanted list?
My reaction is that if there's something we can do and do better, let's do it from the word go than to wait. If the lawyers could come out with a certain date, a fixed date, there wouldn't be this noise about that. And of course, the lawyers take instructions from their client, Ms. Ofori-Atta. So if they had communicated with us that there is going to be a definite date for that matter, we should expect Ms. Ofori-Atta back in the country. That would have saved everybody and the image of Ms. Ofori-Atta and all that. So I am happy that they found that way, because communicating to us and saying that he is out of this country and we don't know when he will return, that is, he will return indefinitely, it created all manner of problems. And I'm sure it was based on that the OSP also issued that statement to the public. But the good news is that the two parties have found a common ground, and the common ground is that there's a fixed date for which Mr. Ofori-Atta will return to the country and then come and face the OSP. Let us remember that in our constitution, the preamble says that there are things we wish for ourselves, and one of it is that when we hold public office, we must make ourselves answerable for our actions and inactions. And so I know that matters of this nature is a matter of time, and that I am happy that Ms. Ofori-Atta is coming back to answer all the necessary questions, and then we are good to go. I will look at the projects that have been abandoned.
But I'll let you move on there. But really, with all his investment in this country, was he really a person who was not willing to return to the jurisdiction that wanted to declare him, wanted by any means?
I will not follow that argument.
Okay.
That he was not prepared to come to this country. I don't subscribe to that. I always want to give any accused person the benefit of the doubt that you would have done the right thing. But I'm saying that the communication was, in my view, that triggered that type of noise and that the position of the OSP that he will return, but we don't know when. That becomes what a problem. But now that that hurdle is, cleared, I am sure that being very, a citizen of this country and a well-meaning one, of course, you do the needful. So I have no doubt in my mind that Mr. Ofori-Atta will come, but the communication that was, churned out to the OSP, I'm sure that created a problem.
Doc,
but
in fact,
fast forward,
talking about communication, looks like some arguments ensued in Parliament over Penyo Makin being the one to tell Parliament about the return of Ken Ofori-Atta in May. And Majority Leader was saying that that was not the appropriate channel for him to, give them that information. So if anything, you should have gone straight to the OSP to tell them that Ken Ofori-Atta intends to return to the country in May. How did that sit with you?
Yeah, that position, I also support that position that you are dealing with what lawyers are dealing with what on behalf of their client. So the person to receive that information obviously should be the OSP. We, the public, will come in after we have heard that message have gone to the OSP. But if it is announced in public, in Parliament, is it the case that it's Parliament, part of Parliament, which is acting on behalf of what, Mr. Ofori-Atta? That is no. I'm not a lawyer, but at least I understand logic and critical thinking. So I believe that is no.
Okay.
Yes, the lawyers should be able to do that and do that with appropriate authorities.
Right.
Let us look at the projects that have been abandoned over the years, which you'll talk about. Article 35(7) gives every government the opportunity to continue projects of what their predecessors. And time and again, we've seen a lot of projects that we have spent hard-earned money to build, being idle in the bush. It's not good. And recently, you and I heard stories about where thieves have had field day in some of the areas, going there to loot and all that. It's not good news. People have done research on all those abandoned projects. And I tell you, if you put them together, you realize that it's a lot of money we are losing. We need to ensure that resources are used properly because they are scarce to come by. So once we get them, let us use them wisely. There is not always going to be the opportunity for us to go to IMF and World Bank. If we begin to disabuse our minds from this, the little that we have here, we can protect and safeguard them for the betterment of our society. And then my last issue will be on the Council of State. My position is clear on that. I respect the quality of people who are in there, and then I want this country to take the conversation a notch further by looking at the fact that let us put this thing into a second chamber, because whether we like it or not, we support them in terms of finances and all that. And I tell you, there's a quality of people that we need them to sit at second chamber so that their decision will not be based on advice, but it will become what laws of this country that will be implemented. I believe that going forward, that should be the conversation. But the people in there, I expect that we should have a body like that as a second chamber. And I tell you, we can do wonders with that.
Dr. Mohammed, your take now.
The issue of the OSP and Ken Ofori-Atta agreeing that he's going to return to the country. It's just about an issue of information flow. If we had communicated right from the beginning, I don't think that we would have had the challenges that we are having. So Ken Ofori-Atta and the OSP should have agreed with each other right from onset that I'm going to return. And so the hullabaloo that it created actually put the country into a bad mood, because it sends a bad segment to the investing community that this is likely to happen to anybody, especially those who take in charge of our finances. So it's not really good to have that kind of situation. But I'm happy that he has agreed to return back to face justice, because justice is very important. If you once own the public purse, you should make yourself available for accountability. Accountability is very important to anybody who holds public office. The Constitution says that, and you cannot run away from accountability. So I'm particularly happy that Ken Ofori-Atta has agreed that he will come back to the jurisdiction to answer questions. In any way, they could have tried him in absentia. Maybe they could have decided to do a Zoom meeting or something of that sort to be able to question him so that he will make himself available. But if they still want him face-to-face, they should be back to the country to do so. On the issue of abandoned projects, we are crying that the U.S. has withdrawn about $156 million as a form of aid to us. The abandoned projects that if you accumulate everything and look at the cost element or the financial aspect of it, you agree with me that it is not small resources that has been put onto the ground. So we have to ensure that we continue most of these projects and complete them. Whichever government takes over from a previous government, they have to do an audit of all the abandoned projects and see how much is needed to be able to put those projects into a good use. Because we cannot leave them that way. If you continue to do that, then we are wasting our resources. We need to judiciously utilize our meager resources that we have. And I believe that the current government should put in measures, should instruct the chief of staff to ensure that they audit all abandoned projects, right from the time of the former John Mahama till now. Any project that is not completed, Agenda 111, the E-blocks, etc., the roads, all of that, they should audit everything in the country. If they are able to audit it, they will know that this is the stock of projects that we have that are uncompleted. And this is how much we need to be able to complete it so that we can take it from there. We don't need to go and start new projects when old ones are halfway or about 60% or about 70% complete.
Right.
After all, it's for Ghanaians. So let's ensure that we put that into a better use. And for the Council of State, I support the argument that it should be made as a second chamber so that we can come out with laws. Even if the laws that they are coming out with are just customary laws, it should be customary laws so that they can help us to regulate the way and manner in which we do things in this country. I truly support that kind of argument.
All right, thank you.
Just before we move away from the daily graphic, I want us to go international. Russia, U.S. agreed to end Ukraine war. Russia and the U.S. have agreed on Tuesday to start working towards ending the war in Ukraine and improving their diplomatic and economic ties. The two countries' top diplomats said after talks that reflected an extraordinary about phase in U.S. foreign policy under President Donald Trump. I mean, we've all spoken about the impact this war has had on the entire world. And it should be good news that it's coming at a time when the Donald Trump is in power. He and Vladimir Putin are saying that, well, we need to end this. What are expectations?
It's a very difficult situation, even though it may seem as what good news. Because, you see, all the stakeholders must be involved. America is just one of the members of NATO. So if a decision of that nature is being taken, why are you ignoring Europe and then Ukraine in that important decision? That is where I find it a bit problematic, because if you want a solution that will last the time, then I believe that all the stakeholders must be in, particularly so when you are talking about what Russian-Ukraine crisis. You need Ukraine in, and you need the European representatives also in. But America alone creates all manner of problems, because now we are, if you look at what America is pursuing now, they are coming back to their isolationism policy, staying away of all world programs, world events and all that. And I'm not sure it bodes well for NATO and all that. And that's why some of the NATO members are saying that they should have a military bloc all over, a new one to that of NATO and the rest of them. It's going to be a complex matter, but I think the players of the game, they know what to do. Okay. And Europe, I'm not sure they will sit down aloof and then allow America only to be at the forefront. They are allies, but they believe that they also have a say in the ongoing tussle between Russia.
But mustn't they even support efforts to end this war? We've all seen how this war has bitten all of us in terms of the world economy. So if someone says we want to end it, it's in the interest of Europe to even support.
I'm not sure the European position is that they want the war prolonged, because resources are, thrown out there, and it's a lot, and it's affecting them. But hey, they have no choice. They all want to end the war. But I'm saying that get all the stakeholders in, so that the decision that you take, everybody would rally around it, and you support and defend it at all times. That is all there is to it. Okay. But I'm not sure anybody is interested that the war should not end. To what end? No. All of them are interested that they should come to a conclusion. They should come to the end of the war. But who are those who must be present for this decision to be taken is the critical question.
Okay, all right. Yeah, let's move away from that.
Let's do the Ghanaian Publisher now. And there's an interesting story here. Yesterday, I saw that 6-page statement from 2 NSA directors denying allegations on ghost names that was published by the Fourth Estate. Let's get into that. It says 2 former NSA directors deny allegations on ghost names. But let me finish the stories on the front page. GES sacks new teachers. And that is in, compliance with that directive that if you were employed or recruited after December 7th, you should be, that appointment has been revoked. They've done that because those who have not yet been enrolled onto the payroll system their appointments have been revoked. CDM slams government energy sector management, warns of doomsday. Ken Ofori-Atta returns in May. OSP removes him from wanted list. New media boss Alex would begin work. But let me get into the story of these 2 directors denying the allegations leveled against them by the Fourth Estate. And they're saying that the publication alleged a significant discrepancy between the number of personnel submitted to Parliament for budgetary purposes and those publicly available. In fact, the argument is that during their tenure, they were committed to strengthening enrollment and verification. Therefore, they're encouraging, they're welcoming the President Mohammed's directive for a thorough investigation into the matter. And they are sure that a thorough probe will expose the inaccuracies in the allegations and the revelations made by the Fourth Estate. In fact, they are saying that the Fourth Estate simply tried to cast aspersions on their persons. Doc, have you been following this story?
Yes.
What did you make of it?
I am still wondering why we continue to have ghosts existing in our books. Because if you follow the story of government fighting ghosts, it didn't start today. I know Messiah Safumafu, you can credit him. He spent all his life removing names of ghosts from our system when he was the finance minister. Today, we still talk about ghosts. It tells us that there is something wrong in our system. Institutions have broken down beyond repairs to the extent that you have what goes in. It means that they've infiltrated into our ranks. Because if institutions are working and they are doing the needful, and by institution, I'm talking about the rules, the regulations, the procedures, the norms. If they are working well, you can't slip through the fingers of anybody. Even if you are going to have such a problem, the magnitude will be too little. But now we seem to have one more. It tells us that all is not well. We should be able to have a system that will be robust and deal with this problem head on. I was happy when Dr. Bawumia championed the cause of digitization. Yeah, the way out to this problem is digitization. But we need to tighten all the noose and make sure that it works and work well. Because if we, in spite of all the noise we make about digitization, and we still have ghosts in the system, then that system that we have as a digitized system is in itself a good system. We shouldn't have a system like that.
All right.
And I know that what the MPP put in place is good. Let us strengthen it and let it work better.
Dr. Mohammed, get a bite at this. Have you been following the story? He said, she said, for the States versus Osei Asibe Entry and Mustafa Yusuf.
I do follow the story. I have seen what is happening in the system. I have read through and I have gone through it. I have realized that cumulatively, over the years, we have had a lot of people put into the system. I just noticed that while Dr. Asha Ashanti spoke about digitization of the economy, I believe that yes, NSS is digitized. Before any of even your NSS people take their money, you have to sign for them before they go and take it. And I'm just wondering how come that we are able to put in over 100,000, let's say 81,000 names in 2022 for 2025 NSS year. That is too alarming. And this is costing the state a lot of money. The Fourth Estate says that it costs the state about 2.2 billion Ghana cedis annually. So just calculate that over a period of 7 or 6 years, and imagine how much money is lost to the state, over billions of Ghana cedis. So what do we have to do to be in a better position to be able to stop this nonsense? We need to put in the better institutions have to put in place. We have to ensure that we audit it. The trail of auditing is very important. What is a process by which people have to pass through before they take their money? That is very important. There should be a validation every single month. So before the 20th of every month, they have to validate it. Getting to the end of the month, they should validate it, so that some of these unwanted names can be erased.
Right.
So we need to put in a better mechanism, checks and balances, so that we can solve the problem.
Okay. Just some quick headlines now. Jakpa's appointment triggers anxiety. We know that the appointment of Richard Jakpa, a dismissed former army officer, as the head of the Special Operations Unit at the National Security Secretariat by the Mahama government, has triggered huge anxiety among operatives within the service. That's what the paper is reporting, not what I'm saying. Mr. Richard Jakpa, who was released from the Ghana Armed Force over what was described as unsatisfactory and consistent fraudulent conduct, abrasiveness, and general indiscipline, has been appointed to head one of the most sensitive units of the Secretariat of National Security, the Special Operations Unit. And we saw that. In fact, he was seen in the video of those who raided the home of former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. Let me add one more story to it, because government shut down 7 radio stations, and the Ministry of Communication, Digital Technology and Innovations has directed the National Communications Authority to take immediate enforcement action against several broadcasting entities operating without valid frequency authorization. And that statement was issued yesterday, Sam George leading that charge over there. Dr. Kwame Asasante, Richard Jakpa's appointment triggers anxiety, really? And government shut down 7 radio stations. Your reflections on that?
I will start with 7 radio stations.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to, since the liberalization of the airspace in, I think, 2005 thereabout, or 1995 thereabout, yes. We've had a lot of media springing up, and it has strengthened and expanded the frontiers of communication in this country. It's supporting the call for democratic entrenchment and all that. Good news. But you see, you cannot work without adhering to the rules of the game.
Right.
Democracy is anchored on rule of law. So you cannot set up a system that doesn't have the rules backing it. Then obviously it becomes a difficult system. So if there are wrongs, we need to use the rules to right them, and so that we don't go on arbitrary spree where we do things anyhow. So once they found them not in compliance with the rules of the game, obviously the system will strike them down. And I always believe that we must first and foremost pay attention to the rules of the game. You want to set up a radio station, just get the rules clear and get them work on your side. Once you do that, you are home and dry.
Right.
Jakpa's appointment and matters are rising. I must say that I've not been following much on Jakpa's issue. So right. In order not to, throw anything as a dust into the eyes of the public, let me leave that. And when I follow it, I'll come back and speak with authority.
Let me throw that to Dr. Mohammed. Given the reasons, we were given for his dismissal and that Rambo-style invasion of Ken Ofori-Atta's home, is there really cause for people to be worried or to cause anxiety? If you haven't done anything wrong, should you be worried? But what do you make of it?
I think that for a person of his caliber to be appointed, maybe the government knows why they're appointing him and what they want him to do to support the government. So I cannot really think through to tell you that his appointment is in a bad taste or is in a good taste. But I leave it in the hands of the government to be able to determine why they have appointed him and what he can do to help his country. Okay. I believe that everybody has something to contribute. So that is how come that he has appointed. On the issue of the NCA, You remember that Radio Gold and others were shut down because they were not following rules. So similar thing can be done to any radio station that does not follow a rule. If you cannot follow simple instruction, you have no place to be in public because you are going to be misinforming the public. So I believe that the right thing must be done as a country. If you begin to crack the whip on people who misbehave, this country, you are going to live in a better place. Remember that the country is for all of us. If you make it bad, you live in bad environment. If you make it good, you live in good environment. So I believe that what the Ministry of Communication has done is a step in the right direction to ensure that we sanitize the system and ensure that rule of law works for all of us.
Thank you so much. We should be winding down, but let me just give out the headlines in the Accra Times. Fighting meningitis in the Upper West region. Speaker Bagbin donates 300,000 Ghana cedis medical supplies. Mohammed cites bondholders, no more picketing, no more debts, as he pays over 6 billion Ghana cedis to domestic debt exchange program bondholders. Akando storms Upper West to assess meningitis situation. Evaluate Jiriwa NDC chairman is hot. Edem Agbana cries over unbearable rent situation in Ghana. Did he cry? NPA boss in action as he hits ground running towards fuel installations. Anglo State salutes Mahama on appointment of Johnson Esiama as Bank of Ghana governor. And lastly, allows senior high school students to use mobile phones. Any headlines from you?
From the news center, it says ex-NSA officials reject Ghost Names accusation. NIA received 700,000 blank cards to clear backlog pending since 2023. Bond coupons, MPP government invested over $31 billion Ghana cedis. That's according to Dr. Amma. And education reform is a collective responsibility, according to John Dramani Mahama, and MPA to deploy automated dispensers to implement 24-hour economy. Yep.
Well, that's our time. In 30 seconds, Doc, I'll take your final words each. Let me start with Dr.
I'll take the bondholders issue. It's good news because what we saw some months ago was nothing but ugly spectacle of bad governance. We don't want to see a repeat of that. That people have served this country and then they've made money and then they said, well, government, make use of it to run the affairs of it. And whilst you do that, we get something for our upkeep. And you subject them to haircut, and then they have to go to picketing and all that.
All right.
That was a sorry story. And I believe that this should be the way, so that if we have nothing for our retirees, let us respect what they put into the system, and then let them enjoy their investment. That is all.
Doc. We have to go, Doc. We don't have enough time for more. Dr. Mohammed, in about 20 seconds, please.
Well, thank you so much. Back to the bond issue. That is a sanity in the system, a sanity in the financial market. So I support that. I believe that the government is now in a free flow to go. So the government can go now in free flow. Everybody is happy about it. Thank you. Dr.
Kwame Asasante is Head Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Dr. Mohammed Jibril is Senior Lecturer, University of Ghana Business School. They helped us review the newspapers. Stay. Muftan Abil Abdullah serves you AM Sports.